After the roller coaster of Lydden Hill last time out, we arrive at Brands Hatch for the penultimate round of the 2018 BARC Tin Top Championship, with any one of the top 5 still in with a shout of the overall title. Class honours are also still fluid, so it really is all to play for. Further back, Chris Bicknell is looking to consolidate his 3rd in class and 7th overall, which will require a good performance today against Cam Tunio, who's incredibly quick and here today, but is only doing a limited number of rounds this year. Dan Fisher isn't here today, so it looks like the current champion season is over, while Mikey Day is looking to continue his good results from Lydden Hill and give his season a good finish. In the second half of the table, Danny Brooker isn't driving today and has passed his car over to Rod Burley. Adrian Matthews is back after missing Lydden with a blown engine and gearbox. That's now repaired and he's expected to be back on the pace here today. Dave Hutchins and Marcus Bicknell both looking for good points, and Steve Everson is hoping for a repeat of his 1st and 2nd places at Lydden Hill last time out. So let's get into qualifying. You'd be forgiven for thinking it was a beautiful day looking through the windscreen of Jamie Primett's Snodhurst Honda Civic, but looks deceived as the temperature's struggling to crack zero as the cars go out for qualifying. Everyone's struggling to get heat into their tyres, and so to qualifying. Qualifying was a tale of two halves, punctuated in the middle by the demise of both Adrian Matthews' very quick orange Ford Puma, back after the engine and gearbox rebuild after Snedden. This time the engine's bottom end let go big time, and that added to Steve Everson's trip into the kitty litter at paddock stopped the session in the middle so that the gravel and oil could be cleared. This is a sad end to Adrian Matthews' season after both car and driver had shown so much potential to be a contender for this year's championship. So the cars returned to the pit lane for aerobics with the marshals while the oil and gravel was cleared from the circuit. That soon done, the cars went back out to find some space. So let's take a look at the top 5 as they finished qualifying. Brad Lane officially declared his electrical gremlin sorted from the last 2 rounds and promptly confirmed it with a 54.8 in a car that looked like it was on rails. Ricky Taylor took 3rd place in the re-engined Fiesta. Alfie Brooker out of position in 7th place. Dominic Ryan down in 9th place. And Jamie Primett 17th overall. So let's take a look at the overall qualifications. Brad Lane took pole position in a 54.8, leading Rod Burley by over a second, which was a surprise given Rod's experience and the very quick Vauxhall Astra of Danny Brooker. Rod split Brad and Ricky Taylor in 3rd place. No time between them, literally 100th of a second between Rod and Ricky. Chris Bassett in his 205, making a guest appearance in this round, took 4th place, ahead of Dave Charlton in the St. Leon, who was going incredibly quickly in a straight line in the back end of this season. Very impressive pace. Cam Tunio put it 6th on the grid ahead of Alfie Brooker, who equally was ahead of Adrian Matthews, although managed to get an 8th place before his engine let go. Dominic Ryan, by definition, gets promoted a place, but he qualified 9th, out of position, with quite a bit of work to do, with his 3 championship rivals ahead of him. Kevin Palmer in his Mini Cooper S was in 11th place ahead of Dave Hutchins. They carried on where they were at Lydden Hill, following each other around the track. Mikey Day in 13th, followed very closely by Marcus Bicknell in 14th, with Steve Everson a bit out of position in the Peugeot, and I guess he was hoping for more after his very good Lydden performance. Chris Bicknell in 16th gives himself some work to do if he wanted to consolidate that 7th place overall. Chris, though, ahead of Jamie Primett, who we've mentioned earlier, had tyre issues in qualifying and is in 17th place with a mountain to climb to get him back in contention for the championship. Also worthy of note there, 19th place Stephen Dan as a guest, making an appearance in the Volkswagen Polo GTI. Quick car, but hasn't run very much this season. So a bit of work to do for quite a few people before they get into race 1. As we head into race 1, we're on board with Jamie Primett in 17th place, looking forward. As we go over the start finish line, Brad Lane gets a good start ahead of Rod Burley as they barrel into paddock side by side. Further back, Dominic Ryan's fighting in the traffic. Alfie Brooker just ahead of him with Alfie Brooker going between Cam Tunio and Dave Charlton. Oh, there's a spin halfway down paddock. That's Kevin Palmer. Good qualifying position. He's now having to work his way back from the back of the pack. Oh, Dave Charlton goes wide. On board with Dominic Ryan. Dave's back on, lost a place. Looking back from Jamie Primett's car, he's now in a battle with the very quick VW Polo Turbo. Just ahead of him, Steve Everson. As the race settles down, we start to get a pattern. Battle for the lead. Neck and neck as they go around paddock. Brad Lane and Rod Burley fighting for the lead. As they go up into Druids, Rod Burley just gets his nose in front. Incredible racing. Further back, Dominic, it's a tight battle in the middle. So there you can see Brad Lane in second, Ricky Taylor third, Alfie Brooker fourth. Fifth looks like the Peugeot of, just looking there, yeah, fifth is the Peugeot of Brad Bassett, followed by Cam Tunio and Dominic Ryan, as they all, in these opening laps, battle for position. Jamie Primett gets past the GTI and looks behind him like the recovering Mini of Palmer. He's trying to get back up through this circuit. Yes, it is. Kevin Palmer fighting back from his early spin. It's a very similar pace down the straight. Oh, that's telling. Straight past. Jamie looks like he's struggling with confidence in the setup of the car as Rod Burley comes through to lap him partway in the race. Brad Lane also fighting through traffic to get lapping back markers. At the moment there's about 3 seconds between the two of them. You have to be impressed with that car. It looks like it's on rails as he comes up under the back of Jamie Primett to lap him. We're about halfway through the race at this point. Jamie doesn't hold him up. There's nothing he can do about that, even though this is important from a championship point of view. Jamie lets him through. He's lapping him. It's not for position. Bassett comes through in the Peugeot. Peugeot's very quick through the corners. In reality, it looks like Jamie's pretty much like for like on pace down the start finish straight. Go through paddock. Jamie just doesn't have the confidence in that car. Ricky Taylor now coming up to the back of Jamie. Again, down the straight, they'll keep the gap. It's just when they get onto the brakes, it looks like Jamie's struggling for grip in the corners. And massive space comes as they come through, followed by Dave Charlton. That's for 4th and 5th position. So as they follow through, so now back on board with Dominic Ryan, still fighting with Alfie Brooker as they go through Graham Hill. Nose to tail, Ricky Taylor, Chris Bassett, Alfie Brooker, Dominic Ryan, all neck and neck. nothing in it as they go down the main straight. Dave Charlton hammers through. Where did that pace come from? Oh, and he's braked, and Dominic's out-braked himself at the top of paddock. Oh, geez, that was a moment. Camtunio goes through. Dominic's got a lot of work to do now. Very, very similar pace. Well held though, that was a moment. Oh, he took a bump at the back, now he's got Mikey Day. Oh, don't know what that was all about. I'd like to get another look at that if I can. Mikey Day gesticulating out of the window, it's about something. As Marcus Bicknell goes through as well. Hopefully we can get another look at this. Ah, here we are with the camera on board with Marcus Bicknell. Mikey Day gets into the back of Dominic and then pushes him wide coming out of Druids. Oh, and then has to be said, brake. Looks like he did brake early for Graham Hill. And they did touch. Okay, back on board. Back on board with Jamie. Oh, that was an unprovoked spin by Dominic. That's really unusual. Dominic doesn't do that, and the car stalled as well. He's got it started again. He's getting back on track. Don't know why that's spun. Oh, and there's that's a belt squealing as well. Chris Bicknell goes through. Dominic, don't know why he spun. That's a very out of character. Dominic's slowing. Oh, and he spun again. There's clearly something wrong after that altercation with Mikey Day. He's limped to the side of the track. It looks like his race is over. He's going to make his way back to the pits. We'll try and find out what that was, but that looks like the car's got an issue after that altercation with Mikey Day. At this point in the race, it looks like Jamie's actually lapping very similar lap times to the guys at the front, but obviously lost quite a lot of time early on in the race. So as he comes up on back markers as well, that's Alfie Brooker in the gravel at the top of paddock. The red flag's out. That's the race. Wow. Dominic Ryan and Alfie Brooker out. Let's take a look at the results for race 1 and see what that's done. Wow, yet another tin top race where you have to catch your breath at the end of the race. Let's have a look. Let's see what we can dig out of this. Rod Burley took a win. In the end, just a second ahead of Brad Lane in the Honda. Rod looked to control the race from the front, although Brad never actually gave in, trying to hunt him down. So that's good points for Brad Lane for his championship push. Chris Bassett in third place in his Peugeot 205, ahead of Dave Charlton in fourth. Dave's car extremely fast in a straight line. That put him ahead of Ricky Taylor. Ricky Taylor, of course, took the T3 win, so that's strong points for him in his championship. So that's both Brad Lane and Ricky Taylor scored ahead of their classes, so that's very, very important points. Kevin Palmer in sixth, a fantastic recovery drive from Kevin after that spin on the opening corner at Paddock at the beginning of the race, so he did extremely well to get back to sixth in his Mini Cooper. Marcus Bicknell in seventh, good result for Marcus, ahead of Steve Everson in the Peugeot. Chris Bicknell, an excellent ninth position in the Saxo. Very, very strong race for Chris. Completely dogged determination. Wouldn't let anything lie. Ahead of Jamie Primett. Jamie Primett in 10th place. That's a good result after a poor qualifying. He's made points, so that's good news for him. What's telling on the second slide, of course, is how many DNFs occurred in that race. Very, very high attrition rate. Alfie Brooker, turns out, snapped a supercharger belt, but that also drives his water pump, so he pulled off at the top of paddock with temperatures starting to soar. Dominic Ryan in the end was out after that altercation with Mikey Day. Cam Tunio, a number of offs, he's actually pulled a drive shaft out, destroyed a CV joint. Mikey Day, that impact loosened his exhaust and he pulled into the pits. Stephen Dan, we saw Stephen pull off during the race. Don't quite know what occurred there, but he pulled in early on. And finally, Dave Hutchins. Dave had a terrible nightmare scenario, lost it on the warming up lap and chucked himself off, and he had to retire with the front end damaged. So now a lot of people have a lot of work to do between races to get back out there. But if they can get back out there, they'll all be starting from the back of the grid. So that's going to really mix up race 2. So let's take a look in the paddock and then we'll move on to race 2. So here we are for race 2. It's formation lap, just everybody getting lined up. A lot of the contenders at the back of the pit, at the back of the train after that terrible race 1 for them. And here we go over the line. Brad Lane now neck and neck with Rod Bird. He's going to brave it around the outside of Paddock. Jamie Primett. Got Alfie Brooker barrelling down on him, trying to get through. Dominic Ryan's trying to follow him. Mikey Day's coming through as well. He goes through. Dominic takes him down, takes Jimmy Primett down the inside, coming up to Druids. Well, Mikey Day's following through. Cam Tunio. Now there's a trio together. Coming through. Mikey Day, Cam Tunio side by side. Stephen Gann in the polo following Jamie Primett. The Baron Surtees. Chris Bickmore gets a little bit sideways. Cold tyres. Mikey Day looks like he's on the edge with cold tyres as well at this point. Oh, he's sideways. He's on the dirt. He's back. He's on. It's a moment. It was a moment for Mikey. Meanwhile, Dominic Ryan chasing Cam Tunio at this point. That's important for the points situation. Cam Tunio goes down the inside. Mikey Day and Stephen Gann down the inside of Jamie Primett as we go through Paddock. Jamie trying to get those tyres up to temperature by the looks of things still. Still reporting he's not completely happy with the setup on his Honda Civic. It looks like it's handling better in this race than the first one. Dominic Ryan into the back of Marcus Bicknell and through and running down to Surtees. Cam Tunio on the grass tracking. Cam had got a little bit of a run on him, but he's now, Dominic's closed back up. That's important. Cam's had a couple of excursions today. They replaced the drive shaft after race 1. As Jamie Primett goes through on John Wild, gets onto the back of the polo of Stephen Gann. Yeah, so with Dominic had the problem with as Steve Everson gets slightly crushed up there. Yeah, Dominic had the issues with a cooling hose that got knocked out of place after that altercation in race 1 with Mikey Day. As Jamie Primett gets onto the back of the polo. That's a close look. Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's Alfie Brooker parked up again. Oh no! That looks like a reoccurrence of the problem he had in race 1. He just pulled up at the side of the track. As Cam Tunio gets sideways. Oh! Jeez, that was a moment. That was close. Cam Tunio sideways. He's recovering now. As Jamie Primett comes on the back of him, he'll get through on the start-finish line, I would imagine, as Cam recovers from that spin. Wow. Okay, so yeah, I was saying that Dominic had the problem in race 1 with the cooling pipe that had got pushed into the alternator pulley and cut it, and that's why he came to a stop when he was spinning in race 1. Was actually putting cooling fluid over his own tyres. Cam had his own problems with a broken drive shaft, which the Snodhurst team changed out between races, and Cam pushing really hard to try and make points. And now Alfie Brooker, his problem obviously was he'd lost that supercharger belt which drives his water pump, and I think power steering, I think he said. So he's looks like he's got a problem with, well, surmising it's the same problems he had in race 1, because he's been ultra reliable all year. So let's put the cat among the pigeons. Let's put the cat among the pigeons for the championship. Alfie Brooker goes out. Dominic Ryan now needs to push a good result. Ricky Taylor's ahead of him up the track, and we haven't seen much of Ricky in this race, but he's actually dominating T3 class at this point, which will give him excellent points for the overall championship as well, after his disastrous Lydden Hill. Battles everywhere. So Jamie Primett battling with Stephen Gann in that really quick Volkswagen Polo, turbocharged of course, and it's actually a T1 car. As Dominic Ryan gets alongside Steve Everson, Steve later on the brakes, coming down the paddock. Dominic gets a better exit to paddock in the run up to Druids, and he closes in, but not enough under braking. There's nothing between these two guys. Very, very close on track. So yeah, the championship. Alfie Brooker out. Dominic's got an opportunity here to score big points. As Jamie Primett closes down on Stephen Gann, Dominic's doing the same, both titanic battles. Yeah, that Polo just cut across. Dominic Ryan gets alongside Steve Everson again later on the brakes. It compromises Everson's exit. No, not that time. I was going to say it normal when he goes in that quick, it compromises his speed out of paddock and run up the hill, but not that time. That was actually pretty much on the limit for Steve. It was very good. Yeah, I was talking about this turbo, this GTI turbo. It's actually a T1 car. It's very, very quick as he goes past Chris Bicknell. This is for position. Jimmy just isn't quite in a position to take it, but he should get a better run out of clearways into the start-finish straight. Chris Bicknell, I've said before, Chris Bicknell's having a great season. As he gets alongside, is he? Yeah, but Chris is coming back at him. Braves it out into paddock, gets a good exit. Compromise exit. Jamie will go down the inside into Druids. He'll be quick on the brakes. They're side by side, both of them giving each other enough room. I don't think Chris is gone. I think Chris is still there, side by side. Graham Hill. Yes, Chris goes through, but his exit's compromised. Jamie's going to take him up the inside at the run down to Surtees. He's got him. I wouldn't say that race is over for the day. Both guys give each other a lot of respect there, give each other just enough room. That's excellent racing. Jimmy will stretch. Back to the other titanic battle. Steve Everson compromised there, he got slightly sideways. Dominic's on it, closes up into braking. Not enough. Very, very close racing now. There's nothing between these two guys. It's a better line. Dominic will get a run on Steve now, closing up, and he's not going to have enough to get past him. Meanwhile, Chris still hanging on to the back of Jamie Primett. Stephen Gann's Polo got away slightly while Chris and Jamie were battling. So now Jamie's going to have to work hard to get back onto the back of that Polo. Just the way Dominic now is on the back of Everson's Peugeot, gets alongside. To repeat, it's like Groundhog Day. Back on the brakes. Let's come down the hill. Doesn't forget Marcus Bicknell and Cam Tunio are in the back of this train. All focus. Right now Dominic's focus is all against the back of that Peugeot, pushing very hard. Talking of which, Chris Bicknell's just hanging onto the back of that. He doesn't want to let the Honda go, and they're both closing in on Stephen Gann. So Jamie's close up, Jamie's car handling better in this race. It's closing in on the back of the white Polo of Gann, who hasn't run much this season, which is a shame because it's clearly the car's got the pace. Different class of car to Jamie, of course. Stephen Gann running in T1, Jamie in T2. Dominic got a better drive through Surtees there as they go around the curves down under the start finish line. Yeah, Dominic definitely got a better line across the start finish line. He's closing, gets alongside Steve Everson again later on the brakes. This is what we've come to see as they come down paddock again. Oh, Steve Everson's gone wide, he's on the dirt. Dominic, oh no, no, oh no. Geez, that was big. Cars on the track, they're going to have to red flag it. The marshals are getting to Dominic now. Jamie comes off, it looks like they've red flagged the race. They'd have to. That car's on the track. Marshals are there. Geez, let's have another look at this. Same has been happening all the time. This time Steve Everson got wide, came back across the track. Dominic nowhere to go. Wow, that's a huge impact. Marshals there immediately. Ambulance has arrived. Dominic's still in the car.
Yes, I'm wondering if that will be race declared. We'll wait and confirm on that when we get notification from the timekeepers. If the race is declared, that will be a win for Bradley Lane.
Dominic's been in the car a long time.
34 and 97. 34 and 97. The second row 55 and 16. 55 and 16. Third row is 19.
Yeah, he's out. Thank goodness for that. Waves to the crowd. Takes a bow. Oh, he's gingerly walking to the ambulance though. Car did its job, but wow, that was a massive impact. It's good to see him walk away though. When that's the red flag, the race is flagged. Oh, that's not the way this race wanted to end it. It's not a way we wanted to end the race. It's good to see that Dominic's alright. Championship is now completely up in the air. So let's take a look at how it all finished. Let's get our breath back. Brad Lane took a convincing win and controlled the race from Rod Burley as a reverse of race 1. Chris Bassett, Dave Charlton and Ricky Taylor in the same positions as they finished race 1. Ricky, massive points. That's hugely important for the championship. Both Brad Lane and Ricky Taylor, after their terrible Liddon Hill, have maxed out points. Kevin Palmer, 6th again. That's a good result for Kevin today, 2 6th places. Steve Everson finished 7 after that titanic battle with Dominic. Just a racing incident, but I'm sure that's not how Steve Everson would want to have beaten Dominic today. Marcus Bicknell, Cam Tunio, we saw them follow in behind that battle, and they finished 8th and 9th. That's a good result for Marcus. And Cam Tunio, a bit of grass tracking today, still massive pace. He was down in the 55, 56s, so he's definitely on the pace, but just too much grass tracking today for him to be further up. Mikey Day in 10th. That's a good result for Mikey after race 1. Jamie in 11th place, scored solid points and actually got in front of Stephen Dan with a great race-long battle, to be honest, between Jamie, Stephen and Chris Bicknell. Chris just a second behind it, the flag just didn't have the straight line power. Look at that, at the bottom of that slide. Alfie Brooker out, again with the same problem as race 1. Supercharger belt went, second non-finish of the day. And Dominic, awful way to finish the day, and let's hope he can repair that car, but it was a huge impact. Both Alfie and Dominic didn't finish either race today. That has huge implications on the championship, and I'm not going to make any more predictions because just blowing it wide open. So many connotations now. I have to get the calculator out and work out what impact it has on the championship. But before we do that, let's have a chat with Jamie Primett about his day. Quite a day.
Yeah, eventful day.
Yeah. So we're going to do the one interview today. So let's start with qualifying.
Yeah.
How was it for you? Because you ended up out of position.
Yeah, it's a bit distant for me. So because of the really cold ambient cold track temperature, I decided to run some different tyres, like an intermediate type tyre, I think, in the track style. So what my plan was to do the 3 banker laps to qualify, then have 2 or 3 hot laps, come in and save the tyres. But unfortunately what happened was just as I was starting on my hot laps, Steve Everson threw it off into the gravel paddock, so they red flagged it. So at that, obviously we're in the pit lane, they let us back out, but because of the traffic and being backed, I was getting so backed up in qualifying again, I just couldn't put in the time that I wanted, and by the time I got some space where I needed, the intermediate tyres had just gone off. It was literally marbles, around clearways, foot to the floor, just washing out. And almost ended up in Dartford, just washing out so far. So out of position, but these things happen. We can't have it always.
So, race 1, I know we didn't get to talk to you directly after race 1 because you had so much to do.
Yeah.
But take me through that.
Yeah. So race 1, I was hoping for a big push. I changed tyres back to a tyre that we've done a lot of testing on at the start of the year. So I was expecting to run better, but unfortunately, just didn't work for me. There's something with the tyres, whether or not it's like too many heat cycles through the season, because we have been on and off with them. So, but the rear was loose, the front was loose. There was just nothing there, no confidence at all, which then meant I didn't have the confidence to hack it in round paddock because I just didn't think it would sit there. The car wouldn't brake. It's just one of them things. So I just drove around it the best I could, and like I say, bank the points.
So there was obviously a difference in race 2, so what changes did you make between the races?
So we changed tyres again. We got Kelly, our MOT tester, to bring some other tyres up, some wider tyres. I feel the car's a lot more stable on the wider tyre, turns in better and a lot better on the brakes, so we done that. We got Lee at E-Tyres to change the tyres over for us. Went out. Unfortunately, they didn't switch on as quick, which somebody else that's running them told me that they'll take a couple of laps. But a few instances I got a weight dropped back from the pack again. So I ended up in a really good race actually between Steve Dan in the Polo Turbo GT, I think, and Chris Bicknell. And really enjoyed it. Yeah, it was a lot more fun. So better end to the day.
So obviously you got red flagged at the end. So a big off Alfie didn't finish the race, and a big off for Dominic.
Obviously, it's good for me, but, our faults are with Dominic at this moment. From what I see, I never saw it happen, but, it was such a big accident. So, I want to take points off everyone I can, but I don't want to do it in that way. I don't feel that I deserve to take more points than him just because that's happened. He was having a good race, and, I hope he's all right.
So, end of the day, how would you sum up your day?
Mediocre. A little bit of disappointment. Like I say, I would have liked to, if I'd qualied further up, then maybe something might have been a bit different. Within the faster boys where I normally am, they probably would have pulled me along a little bit, maybe, worked the tyres a bit harder. I don't know, but the way they were, I probably would have dropped back. To sum it up, it'd been a good day out with my mates and my family. The car's in one piece again. We're good for the last race of the season, so let's see what happens.
Okay, well, we'll have a look at the championship table now and see how it's gone.
Yeah, one more thing before we go, just to say happy birthday to little Jessica and niece Caitlin. Their birthday's today, so my brother, who's normally Matt mechanicking for me and packing up. He's done a run and see his little girl, and
Nah, it's good.
Happy birthday!
After another huge day in terms of implications for the championship, let's take a look at the final standings after the penultimate round at Brands Hatch here this weekend. Ricky Taylor, after his disaster of Liddon Hill, goes back to the head of the championship after 2 T3 class wins, gets him back onto the number 1 slot. Huge turnaround for Ricky and a great result. Jamie Primett into second place. Mixed bag, as we heard from him earlier, mixed bag in terms of his day and how it went, but drove a clean race, kept out of trouble and scored good points, which gets him into second place in the championship and first in class. Huge. Alfie Brooker, terrible day for him. Car looked quick. We saw a couple of times during the race his car looked quick, but his first mechanical failures of the year drops him down to third place, still leading up the T1 championship, which looks very good and very promising in terms of that. But from an overall point of view, that kicked him. He's only 4 points behind Jamie at this point, so all is not lost. But the reality is he's got a huge mountain to climb now to win the championship. Dominic Ryan drops to 4th after again 2 non-finishes today, the second in spectacular form, so he's got a huge job ahead of him. Brad Lane maxed out his points. We talked in previous videos about any of the drivers getting a maximum of 29 points. Well, Brad Lane did that today, maxed out his points. He's still 5th in the championship, but he's now in contention. He's only 22 points behind Jamie Primett, who's leading the class at the moment, so going into the last round is massive. Jamie's still got to drop a score from that, whereas now he's the only one in the top 5 who has to drop points because he scored in every round. We mustn't forget that in the final calculations. Further back, Dave Charlton, 6th in the championship. Powerful performances from his car in the second half of the season puts him in 6th place. Chris Bicknell consolidated 7th place today. Cam Chunio's non-finish in the first race lost him points, so Chris today has actually widened the gap and pushed him more and more towards consolidating that T3 3rd place and 7th overall. Good racing today. That battle between him and Jamie Primett in the second race was great to watch, and how racing should be. Mikey Day goes 9th in the championship overall. Marcus Bicknell 11th. Good races for Marcus today. Scored consistent points, kept his nose clean, and performed very well with good results in both races. John Wild, 12th place. John's been consistent this year. He's had some good results, namely Liddon Hill last time out. So 12th place is a good result for John overall in the championship so far, and not that far off Marcus. So pushing Marcus for that 11th place slot at the end of the season. Danny Brooker didn't drive today, as we've said. Rod Burley took a 1st and 2nd with his Vauxhall Astra VXR. The car performing well, so Danny drops to 13th place in the championship at this point. Adrian Matthews drops to 14th in the championship after an awful end to his season. Speaking to him in the paddock after the engine let go in qualifying. That's it for Adrian this season. He's now going to concentrate on getting the car ready for next year. But a real shame, and 14th place really doesn't reflect his performance this year. That car is blisteringly fast, as is Adrian, and he's had just terrible luck in the last couple of races. Dave Hutchins, I felt for Dave Hutchins today. Qualified well and just trying to get some heat into those tyres to make a good start for race 1. Just dropped it on the warm-up lap, which nobody wants to do, but it went into the tyres and that was his day right there. Steve Everson, no, that's not a misprint. Steve Everson now chasing himself. He stands a chance of overtaking himself in the Saxo with his Peugeot 206 by the end of the season. Kevin Palmer. Kevin's only done 2 races this year. He did Liddon Hill where he scored really well, and he scored 2 6th places today. In the first race he recovered from that spin on the opening corner, and to finish 6th in both races is a great result for Kevin today. His Mini Cooper S performed very, very well around the Indy circuit. So what can we say about today? Brad Lane took overall honours, declaring by definition that his car is officially electrical gremlin free and back on the pace. We know that he's very, very quick. That car, massive today in terms of handling. Nobody can argue that car isn't very, very quick in Brad's hands. He's still got a mountain to climb, but having done what he's done today, if he can repeat that next time out, who can say what will happen. I think it's also important to say Ricky Taylor back on top of the championship tonight. That's big news. You know, he clearly had a torrid time at Lidenhill, having led the championship for most of the season. But back at Brands Hatch, car re-engined, taking 50 points today, certainly didn't hinder his chances. The top 5, I can't call it. I think Dominic now, unless he can get his car sorted, going to obviously struggle to win the championship. Alfred Brooker, by definition, lost one set of points today because he can drop one of the rounds. Jamie Primett, I think he needs to sort the handling out on his car. I can't call it. I really can't call it. Yeah, it's too close to call. Fascinating way to end the season next time out. I can't wait for it, I've got to be honest. Just to say, bad luck to Dominic today. Really, really not the way any of the guys would want to go into the last round. They'd much rather be racing you. So glad you're well. Get the car sorted for next season. Come back fighting. That's of course making the presumption that you're not going to actually make the last round. Having looked at the car and having a quick word with Dominic, he's not so sure it's going to make it. But I wouldn't put anything past him or this championship this year. So here we go into the last round of the 2018 BARC South East Centre Tin Top Championship in 3 weeks' time, with the Tin Top supporting the Brit car. So make sure you get along to that. So that'll be a good day's racing overall. Certainly with the Brit car guys doing their endurance race into the dark. So well worth watching for that. So make sure you come along. So once again, thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you for the last round at Brands Hatch. Incredible championship decider. Again, thanks for watching. Please hit the subscribe button and notification bell. It really does help us make these videos.